I'm sure you have seen Gianni Infantino making announcements during Champions League events. Now let's put more perspective on this issue and what will be happening as we have a new FIFA president. Let's now bring in the guy in charge of sports here at KTN, that is Hassan Juma, and Harold Ndege, football analyst and former player. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you, bro. Thank you.
Hassan, yes. We have a new FIFA president. What do you make of this? And it's Gianni Infantino. Europe again, there are people who are saying Europe has nutmegged or chobbled Africa and Asia.
From the onset, Ben, this was a two-horse race. I've always said that, and I'll still say that it was a two-horse race between Sheikh Salman and Gianni Infantino. Now, the only issue with Infantino is that he's a little bit pro-establishment, in the sense that, you know, his boss, Michel Platini, had to be forced out because of corruption allegations. Sheikh Salman, is pro-Joseph Sepp Blatter. So both of them, while it was a two-horse race, but both of them had baggage, a tag that they have to shed. And this is a tag now that Gianni Infantino, the former SG at UEFA, has to shed. The fact that he was, and he still more or less has a bit of linkage with Michel Platini, the former boss at UEFA.
The two of them, Harold,
yes.
What is Hassan is saying, do you agree with those sentiments? And the fact that they are very young, and Infantino is very young, I think 45 or 49. Is that an advantage for FIFA? Will you see the change that people have been expecting?
I think there's going to be some substantial change, for the simple reason, him having been the Secretary General of UEFA. We all could see during their tournaments in the UEFA Championship, UEFA Champions League, how it is managed, how it is conducted, the amount of money that is being poured. He'll be coming into FIFA with the contacts he had at UEFA, plus the existing contacts at FIFA. Having said that, I think it's going to take a lot of hard work for him to make the necessary changes at the helm, for the simple reason that the status quo is still in existence. Okay, those guys who are being led by Sepp Blatter are still the same guys he's going to find into office. So it's going to take a lot of persuasion. I don't think he's autocratic. We've said he's a young guy, 45. He brings in a new kind of energy. And it will inspire confidence even to those guys who want to have partnerships with FIFA, especially the corporates.
Ben, something, again, just to add on what Harold is saying, something happened prior to,
that is what,
these guys going to the ballot. There are some minimum reforms, that were passed by the Congress. And this is just to run them through separation of power between the political and business operations. Because most
that is like, cutting some powers, clipping some of the president's powers.
Because
right?
the president had overwhelming power. It was crazy. Sepp Blatter will just wake up one day and decide, you know what, I'm giving you this kind of amount of money. But now there are some minimum reforms. There's a term limit, about 12 years. So there are some minimum reforms that were passed by the Congress prior to, these guys going to the ballot. Yes.
Earlier, before voting began, we saw South African tycoon Tokyo Sekwale, withdrawing from the race. What do you make of this?
Tokyo Sekwale, two things. First, he did not have he did not appeal to the African bloc, because African bloc has 54 votes. He never campaigned. And when you listen to some of this, the chairman, the presidents of the federation, they're saying, you know what, this is one of our own who was a little bit distant. He did not come to us to ask for votes. He was always in Europe. When there was the Ballon d'Or, he went for the Ballon d'Or instead of attending the CAF. There was some awards in Africa. So most of these African presidents felt that he was not one of their own. And he had this argument that, you know what, I spent some time with Nelson Mandela in jail, but so what? I mean, that does not warrant me to vote for you. The fact that you are in jail with Nelson Mandela, that is, it's history.
So he was an outsider in the race.
He did not package himself
right.
to be voted today.
Right. Harold, how they didn't use transparent ballot boxes. How would you say Africa voted?
Looking at the way the final vote went, I think Africa maybe did not vote as a bloc. Saying that because looking at the number of votes which Sheikh Salman managed to get, they were around 88.
88, yes.
And I strongly believe most of the African Federation tried to look at their interests. We try to package Africa as having a common interest, but I think it's different. For example, if you take South Africa and Kenya, there are two countries which there's a huge disparity in between the two. South Africa have got their own issues, Kenya has got their own issues. So I think Africa did not vote as a bloc, I think, for the first time. And if you could see the reaction of Issa Hayatou when Gianni Infantino was unveiled, he was not a happy guy. For the simple reason that they know from now henceforth it's not going to be business as usual. Their interest of getting the yearly grants, maybe it might reduce, nobody knows. Okay, so I think Africa has a lot of soul searching with regards to this election, and going forward, each federation will have to fight for its own. Because it's not going to be as before, whereby Sepp Blatter says that everything, they have now separated the powers with regards to politics, with regards to marketing. So it's going to be different. Professionals are going to come in and they're going to look at Africa from a different angle. If they need the marketing, they're going to get it. If they need the grants, the countries that need the grants are going to be given. They're not going to be given as a block that from this year onwards, this is what you're going to get.
Right, Hassan. Infantino comes into office when FIFA has been facing a lot of, challenges, corruption allegations. The former FIFA president and the UEFA president banned. There are also fresh allegations of lobbying. How much work is in his entry?
I mean, he has a lot to do before, he convinces the whole world that, I was the right man for this particular job. Because even before vying for that post, he said that if Michel Platini would vie, he would step down for him. So first he needs to shed off that baggage, Secondly, he needs to institute major reforms. The reason why these elections were there in the first place is because of corruption allegations within the highest hierarchy within FIFA. So there must be transparent management, there must be investor and corporate confidence. He needs to appeal to the corporate, because at the end of the day, FIFA cannot do it alone. I mean, there's a reason why the multinationals were pulling away, from FIFA because of corruption. He needs to be seen to be doing something. He's young. He has, before voting, they did pass some reforms. He needs to stand by what they passed today and take football to the highest level.
I'll ask both of you this same question, starting with you, Harold. We, Kenya, have a new FKF president, or we have a new FIFA president. What is in store for Kenyan football?
We have a long way to go. We have a new president who is energetic, who is young, but I strongly believe the people who surround him are the ones who are going to make an impact in Kenyan football. If he doesn't surround himself with proper individuals, with professionals, then it's going to be the same issues that were focused previously that are going to be happening. I believe at FIFA, Infantino, having already the experience of being the Secretary General of UEFA, he knows the rule book. He knows how things are supposed to go. And I'm sure now with the separation of powers, he's going to bring new individuals maybe into the marketing team to have their own channels of trying to market the FIFA World Cup. So having combined the two, I think FIFA will also try to assist Kenya in trying to improve her image in terms of football.
I think what Nick needs to do is there's a lot of wind of change. People wanted change, and that is why I believe that is why they call themselves Team Change. I mean, there's a lot of goodwill from the government, from the corporate world. Before he went to Zurich, he said that he had I think 3 sponsors for national teams. So there's goodwill from the government, from the corporate world. He just needs to ensure that he sustains that goodwill, because sometimes when leaders are elected come into the office, there's this air of it will do A, B, C, D, but after a month or so, I think power gets into their heads. So he needs to listen to people who've been there. He needs to listen to the likes of Harold Ndege, who he played for Tusker. He needs to listen to so many people, and instead of making a unilateral decision, I think there's goodwill from all stakeholders of the game. And he's young and energetic, as he said. I think we can take Harambee Stars, you can take football to the highest level that there is in the world.
Final question, Harold. Was Infantino the right choice for the world? In your words, it's an opinion.
There is no right guy for a particular job. Until the end of his tenure, that's when we'll be able to know whether he was the right guy or the wrong choice. But at this particular juncture, it's difficult to say that he's the right guy or the wrong guy for that particular job.
Right.
Yes.
But I'm laughing because, a survey was done, and 60% of the guys who were interviewed said that they wouldn't vote for any of the candidates who are vying today. 60%. I mean, that's crazy. So, I don't know.
Interesting.
It's interesting.
We shall wait to see. Thanks, gentlemen. Hassan Jumawa, sports editor, and Harold Dege, football analyst and former player in the Kenyan Premier League, just putting a perspective into the breaking news coming out of Zurich, Switzerland, where Gianni Infantino, the outgoing general secretary of UEFA, is a new FIFA president.